You are listening to the Retina UK online Manchester local peer support group meeting recorded Saturday 25th of June 2022.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Retina UK Manchester local peer support group meeting. My name is Mark Baxter. I am the Information and Support Coordinator for Retina UK. I'm going to pass over to our Manchester volunteer facilitator, Rachel, to introduce herself and this afternoon's speaker as well. So thank you everyone for attending, and we hope you enjoy today's meeting.
Hi everyone, most of you know me. I'm Rachel Foley. I am the lead facilitator for the Manchester Retina Group. This is our 5th meeting. We've had 3 meetings online on Zoom since last October, and we had our face-to-face meeting a couple of months ago. Today's session should have been face-to-face, but due to the train strikes, unfortunately, we've had to pull it onto Zoom, which is fine because we've still got the technology to do this. So we wanted to still carry on with the meeting, but just pull it online instead. So I have Bardet-Biedl syndrome, and I've had that since 2012. And yeah, that's a bit about me. So I'm now going to pass you over to Lora Fachie, who is a Paralympian, and she'll tell you a lot more about herself and her inspirational journey. So thank you for joining us, Laura, and over to you.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you for all joining today and coming along to listen to me talk at you. It's a shame we can't be in person, but as Rachel said, it's great that we've got this set up so we can all still meet and chat. So as Rachel says, I'm Paralympian. I'm a double Paralympic champion, in fact. I've been to 3 Paralympic Games now. I've been to London, Rio, and most recently Tokyo. So I race on a tandem, and I've been a cyclist now since 2009. Got on to the tandem for the first time pretty much in 2009 when I was 21. So I've not done this all my life, but when I did get onto a tandem for the first time and experience the freedom and the sense of fun that you get from going fast, just became addictive. So I've always been sporty. I started out in athletics when I was a teenager. I used to do 800 meters, 1500 meter running. But I come from a very sporty family. My parents have always encouraged us to take part in sport and give us the opportunities to try different sports. And it kind of shows in the fact that I've got 2 brothers. One of them currently represents England at blind cricket, and the other currently represents England at blind football. And then there's little old me riding a tandem. So it kind of shows the amazing support we've had from our parents and the encouragement. As I've alluded to, we're all visually impaired. So our condition is quite rare. It is under a sort of a retinopathy, but they've never really diagnosed exactly what it is. Every consultant I've been to has said something different. So I just the things I focus on is the fact I can't see very well, and I'm blind. And yeah, it's from my mum. So, but my mum and dad are both visually impaired. My mum and dad met at a blind school when they were younger, and they bring in us up, all 3 of us, me and my 2 brothers. They were determined that we would go through mainstream education rather than being sent away to blind school, which they did. And my eldest brother was the first totally blind child to go through mainstream education in Liverpool, which is where I'm from. That was a good while ago. My eldest brother is a lot older than me. My mum had him when she was 17, which tells you what might go on at blind schools, if I'm honest. But We'll leave that one to them to explain. But yeah, so I was born with the condition. I was born with more sight than I have now. So at the age of sort of 5, I remember being able to read large print letters if they were written in sort of bold black felt tip pen or things like that. I could see colours to a point, and I remember being able to play with my friends in the playground and see like markings on the floor for things like hopscotch and the lines that separated the playground for the infant school and the junior school, which I was part of. But over time, it's gradually deteriorated. So now I'm left with a light perception, so I can see if the sun is out, but that's about it really. And I think I consider myself quite lucky really, because I was so young when I had sight. I don't really remember it, and I don't. So I say what I've never had, I don't miss. So I don't really miss having sight. My husband, who I met through cycling, he's got RP, and I always joke that he's very common because it's quite a common, whereas I'm quite rare. So that makes me more special. But I'm not sure he agrees on that one. But he's obviously, his sight loss is much more gradual. He's still got quite a lot of useful vision, but has to live with the prospect that one day he will be like me and not be able to see at all. And that to me is a lot more terrifying to have to live with, because you've got sight and you it's your way of life, whereas mine is, I've never had sight, and I'm quite comfortable with that. I don't know any different. And it's very similar for my brothers. Have both been the same. They're both older than me, and I think I do consider myself very lucky that I've got two sort of close, brothers who've gone through mainstream education with me. They know what it's like. They've been able to support me, and I've also got the incredible role model of my mum, who is a totally blind woman who brought 3 children up very successfully, independently. And if I get stuck with anything, I've got the perfect person to go and ask, how do you do that? And also it means if I do have to say, oh, I can't do that because I'm blind, well, my mum will just say to me, shut up, because I do it. So you can't really feel sorry for yourself when you're surrounded by people in the same situation, which I think is what's really good about these support networks, and having people around to ask and share kind of experiences and support, like knowing who to go to ask if you are struggling. And it is okay to struggle, because the world isn't designed for people who can't see. Like, the world is designed for fully sighted, able-bodied, individuals that can get on and do things without having to think about it or plan in advance. So it is all right to feel struggle and to have down days. We all do. But yeah, it's great to have these sort of networks around. So as I grew up in mainstream education, had to learn to stand up for myself at times in school, because kids can be cruel, and we all know that. And I'm not going to lie, there were, it wasn't always plain sailing. There were times where I had to deal with comments from children, or even one of my favorite stories from growing up in schools, when it came to choosing my GCSEs. Growing up, I always wanted to be a physiotherapist. I love sport. Sport was a great hobby, but I never really saw myself as doing it for a job, which is what I am now fortunate enough to be able to do. But at the time, I always saw myself, I wanted to be a physiotherapist. So when it came to choose my GCSEs, I chose, the sort of obvious ones of like science-based. And then I chose PE because at the time I was a runner. I was running for my country. I'd represented Great Britain at a few cross-country races. And so it seemed only natural that I would do PE, and it linked in with physio as well. And then I was told by my PE teacher, you can't do PE, you can't play team sport, and you need to be able to play a team sport to do the GCSE. And I said, I don't think so. I said, I can play a team sport. You might just have to adapt it a little bit, but I can play a team sport. There is blind football, there is goalball, there is blind cricket. There are lots out there. But I was fortunate because I knew that they were available to me. There's a lot of people out there, especially parents of children with a visual impairment who aren't visually impaired themselves. They don't know what's available out there, and it really frustrates me. It's a big bugbear of mine because I'm lucky. I've got the right, I've got incredible people around me who know what I'm capable of and are willing to fight for me. So we had many discussions with my school about doing GCSE PE, and eventually they gave in and they sort of said, oh, okay, well, you can go to, because I live in Liverpool, so you've got the blind school in St Vincent's in Liverpool, so they told me I could go there and do my team sport there. So I was like, fair enough, fine, I'll do that. Did it, became the first student in my school to get an A star in the school. I dropped 3 marks in the whole exam. And after that, I sort of said to my teacher, so do you still think I couldn't do it? She said, oh, well, we'll see when we recall your paper. And at that point, I was like, well, if you can't admit you were wrong, then I don't want anything else to do with you as a teacher. You're not, that, and it just hurt, but it also gave me that determination and that resilience to fire me up, really. And I think I still use that sort of approach when it comes to racing within sport. One of my biggest motivations when I am racing is trying to prove people wrong, that just because I can't see, it doesn't mean I can't do things. I can't go on to achieve great things. I can't, because I can still win things. I can still race, I can still compete, I can still do sport. And it doesn't even have to be sport. You can just, if you even if you can't see, you still have things that you enjoy and you're passionate about. And those things are the things you should focus on and you should pursue, and because life, you only get to live life once, so you might as well make the most of it. So after school, I went off to university, studied to be a physiotherapist, like I say. I went to Birmingham. That's a great university. Had a great time. First, I'd taken a step back from competing in athletics at the time. When I was about 17, I sort of fell out of love with athletics, really. I stopped enjoying it and I thought, well, this isn't for me anymore. So I focused on being a student instead. And I had a great student life for the first couple of years, going out, being a student, making new friends, drinking a lot. But it was great. I really enjoyed it. And it was during my second year at uni. I was on one of my placements as a physio. And I'd had a bit of a run-in with the tutor who was supported me through this placement, and she marked me down for something because I couldn't see what was going on, and it really got to me. And I thought, you can't get away from it. Everywhere you turn, whatever you do in life, you're gonna get put down because you can't see. And so what do you do about it? And so I was talking to a friend who was in the year above, who also was visually impaired, and she was sort of, we were having a good old moan about it all, I'll be honest. And the topic of sport came back up, and she said, you really miss it, don't you? And I said, I miss competing, I don't miss athletics. So she told me about someone who had been to Beijing Paralympics in 2008 as a runner. and he was visually impaired, and he'd gone to Beijing, but he'd finished 9th in both his events, so he'd not even made the final. And as a result, he'd lost his funding from UK Athletics. They said they didn't want to work with anymore going towards London 2012. So he decided, fair enough, athletics isn't for me. I'm going to go and try some other sports. And he tried tandem racing, and he was doing quite well at it. And I was like, I'd love to ride a tandem, but I just don't know how. Like, how do you get involved? How do you do? How do you get started? So she said, well, do you want me to ask him? And so I said, yeah, go on. Not thinking much about it, just went away. A couple of weeks later, I got an email from the development coach within British cycling saying, I hear you're visually impaired and you're really interested in jumping on a tandem. There's a girl I know who lives not far from you in Birmingham, could take you out in a tandem, see what you think. I was like, yeah, right, give it a go. So we did. First time I ever went on a tandem, within about half an hour of riding, I'm riding along and I'm thinking, it really doesn't feel right, but I don't know what it is. And I'm thinking, I can't really say because I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got a clue here. And a bit longer on the bike, and I think I'm going to have to speak up. And I sort of said, this really doesn't feel very comfortable. And it turns out the saddle had broken, was pointing right up to the sky. And so we had to get off and fix the bike. And yeah, that was my first experience of riding a tandem. Didn't put me off too much. 6 weeks later, we ended up doing our first race. And off the back of that, I got selected to go to a European race in Italy. And so we went and we got a silver and a bronze. And I'm thinking, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing here. I don't even know how to ride a bike. But all right, I'll just keep going with the flow and see what happens. Off the back of that, I got selected for my first World Championships, and this was September 2009, and walked away with a bronze medal. And it was just, when I now look back and I think, how did I end up there so quickly? And I genuinely don't know, but it was obviously one of those things that is just meant to happen. And it's these opportunities that sometimes come up and you think, should I, shouldn't I? I don't really know what I'm doing. And you just think, well, so what? I've just got to get on with it. Just got to try. And if it goes wrong, then it goes wrong. And if you don't enjoy it, you don't enjoy it, but at least you tried. And I'm so glad I did try, because, here I am 13 years later. That guy who had put me in touch with riding the British cycling in the first place is now my husband. As I say, I'm a double Paralympic champion, 4-time world champion. I'm the world record holder. And I've been able to travel all around the world racing my bike. I've been to I've been to pretty much every continent now. I've raced in Australia, Asia, South America, North America, and Europe. I've raced in pretty much, the majority of countries within Europe. And it's my job. I'm funded by the National Lottery. So, I'm paid to ride a bike, and I'm incredibly lucky. Training wise, we have to train. It is a lifestyle. It's not necessarily just a job, but it's a good job. I love it. I haven't always loved it. There've been times where I've really not enjoyed it. Straight after my first, I got selected for my first Paralympics in London, and I'll be honest with you, at the time I was very naive. So I'd kind of gone in very quickly and gained success quickly, and I almost underestimated how difficult it would be. So going into London, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a Paralympic champion. I'm gonna win a gold medal in my home country. I'm gonna, make my friends, family, country proud. I'm gonna do all this. It's gonna be amazing. First, I raced 4 events on a tandem at the Paralympics. because I'm endurance based. So I'm better at the longer events. So the 3 kilometer pursuit on the track is the one I'm the double Paralympic champion in and world record holder. And that's the velodrome is a indoor wooden track. It's banked, so you ride around it at a sort of between 45 and 48 degree angle. So it sounds like you're riding at it'd be really difficult, but when you're riding at speed, you don't actually even feel the angle you're riding at. But it's 250 meters a lap. So the pursuit is 12 laps, and how it works is there's 2 of you on at any one point, 2 bikes, and you start up complete opposite sides of the track. So you can't, only if you look across the track at the start, you will see your opponent, but if you're looking ahead the way you're going, you won't be able to see them. And the idea is to try and go quicker than them, to get them in the sights and chase them down and catch them. If you catch them before the 12 laps, the race is over. But the idea is that it's quite rare that actually happens. The idea is to just go as fast as you can, and whoever posts the fastest time wins. But it's done in qualifying and then a final. So in qualifying, the fastest 2 bikes will race for gold, silver, and then the 3rd and 4th fastest race for bronze. And then the other race that I do on the track is the 1 kilometer, which is 4 laps of the track. And that's just simply, you set off separately, you post a time, whoever's time is quickest wins. That's not really my strength. It's too short for me. The 3 kilometer is at the limit of length, really. It's the shortest one that I'm good at. And then on the road, which is, I'll be honest with you, I much prefer. I love the road. I love being outside. I love the feeling of the wind in my hair, climbing mountains, riding really fast down the mountains. It's where I'm in my happiest. And the 2 events you do on the road are the time trial, which is, the distance varies, but it's normally around 30 kilometers, which takes around 45 minutes, depending on the course and how hilly it is. And the road race, which is the simplest race, really. It's, you all start on the start line together, and whoever crosses the line at the end wins. And that normally is around 90 kilometers and takes around 2.5 hours. So in London, the first 2, we always race the track first in the Paralympics. That's how it goes. So London, I raced the kilometer and the 3 kilometer first, and got 4th in both of those events, which, as someone in sport, is probably the worst place to finish, because it's the first place you come without getting anything to show for it. And then it came to the time trial, and I'm thinking, still on, like, these are the events I love. I'm much more happy on the road. Let's do this. We can do this. Still be a Paralympic champion. And then, so the way the course worked in London, it was 3 laps of a 10 kilometer-ish loop. So we came around for the first lap, and I heard over the tunnel, and the bike in the lead is Lora Fachie, Laura Turnham back then. I wasn't married then. And so I'm thinking, yes, we're going to do this. We're 5 seconds up on second place, so we're all right. We're going strong. Second lap round, I hear them again, and they're still in the lead with a 15-second gap to second place. I'm thinking, we're doing this. We're going to do this. It's actually going to happen. And then we were about 5 kilometers to go. We turned a corner, and we went to put pressure on the pedals to get the bike up to speed. And I heard this almighty clunk, and then the pedals stopped turning. And so we had to pretty much come to a standstill on the side of the road, get off the bike, wait for someone to come and fix it, because the chain had jammed, so we literally couldn't turn our pedals. And while we were stood by the side of the road, then that was being fixed, we watched everyone else go by, and all the medals disappear. We did finish. We finished 8th, 7th or 8th. And I got off the bike at the end of the race, and I sat on the side of the road, and I cried my eyes out, and I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried a bit more. And then I said, don't ever let me get on a bike again, because I can't cope with it. I cannot cope with this feeling of disappointment. I felt like I'd failed. I felt like I'd let my friends down, my family down. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't feel like I could show my face again. And it was only through time that I learned to accept that had happened. It was out of my control. There was nothing I could have done about it. I could learn from it. I could learn from that, and I could use that to make me stronger. I wasn't going to change it, but I had to learn to live with it. And a year later, I was racing again. It was the World Championships this time out in Canada. I was racing the time trial, and I actually became the world champion. But in a year, I turned it around and finally experienced what it's like to win, and that was my first world title. I've since gone on to win 3 more world titles over my career, which have all felt immense. Like, it's such a great achievement in different ways. The first one is always, I think, the sweetest, but probably my favorite world title to win is actually the one I won last year, because it was the first race back from COVID. And before COVID hit, I was counting down the days till Tokyo, and then I would retire. In my head, I'd decided I'd fallen out of love with cycling. I didn't want to do it anymore. It'd been really tough, and I just was really struggling for form. And then COVID happened, and we had to really rethink how we trained. And I suddenly realized I was given a bit more free rein to train how I wanted and do what I want. And I realized how much I do actually still love riding my bike. And I learned a lot through COVID, which made me, again, a lot stronger. And so, yeah, first race back, becoming a world champion again was an immense, and it gave us as a pairing. So there's 2 of us on the bike. There's myself, and at the moment I race with Corrine Hall. I've raced with her since 2013. And it gave us both the confidence of winning that title to go on and then perform at the games like we did, where we won a gold, broke the world record, and then won a silver in the time trial. And then unfortunately, as things always seem to do when it comes to Paralympic Games and road racing, I was road racing the final race, and just not far into the actual race, we went to pedal, and I heard this almighty clunk again, and exactly the same thing had happened. So fortunately, we lost out on a medal in the road race, but we can't, you know, that was disappointing. But at least this time, this Paralympic Games, I had the success of the pursuit and the time trial to fall back on. And also in Tokyo, my husband, who was racing as well on the same day, he races. He only does track. He does the sprint of shorter events. Aquila, he's a lot lazier than me, you see. And he broke the world record and won gold 15 minutes before I did. So to be able to share that success with him on the same day, both of us win, was one of those moments that literally, it's like, it's cliche, but it is what dreams, you know, only dreams are made of, kind of thing. I'll be honest with you, I don't think either of us dared to actually dream that might actually happen and come true. Yeah. So that's, I've probably glossed over quite a lot of my sporting career, but I hope I've given you sort of a feel for the highlights and the lows of it. And yeah, you know, feel free to ask any questions about, you know, my site or my sport or anything. I'm more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Laura. That was really inspirational. So if anyone is interested in getting involved in sort of paracycling and tandem cycling, how would the best way for someone to start out, you know, getting involved if they wanted to?
So on the British Cycling website, you can sort of type in your location, and it will tell you where your local cycling clubs are. If you contact them, there's surprising amount of people who have tandems lying around in the house and are willing to take people out on a tandem. And so don't be afraid to ask and approach. Approach a local cycling club, or even get in touch with British Cycling and ask them to point you in the right direction. There's some, I know locally around Manchester, there's the Bury Tandem Club that's set up, and they do a lot of rides from Manchester out on the road, and that's a really great facility. You can also, well, I say you can, at the moment the Manchester Velodrome's closed for refurbishment, but there are, I think it's once every 2 weeks, there's a track session on the velodrome that they do, you can sign, and they have people who come along to take you on the tandem on the track, and they have the tandems there already at the velodrome for you to make use of yourselves. I know there's also in Merseyside, where Bradbury Fields have a tandem club. They go out, I think it's once a month on a Sunday for a tandem ride, and they help provide front riders to allow you to go on. So it's, there are these opportunities, and I know it's not always easy to find what actually is available to you, but don't be afraid to ask. And if you've never been on a bike, it's you don't like I did have a bike as a child. My parents bought me one for my 5th birthday, and it was one of these little bikes that had like a lunchbox on the back, and we never got the stabilizers off because I couldn't balance it. So I still joke, I can't ride a bike, but I can ride a tandem.
Does anyone have any other questions for Laura?
I have one for Laura, if that's okay. It's Perm, Laura.
Hi.
Your story is so inspirational, but I have one question. It's sometimes the PE teacher that actually doubted you, and then the feeling when obviously you lost the race that you was telling us about, and you sobbed your heart out. Does that teacher actually get in touch with you, or have you actually said to them, look, I did it, where are you now in life? Because
I have been back to school, yes, and they've sort of glossed over it in a way, because they want to jump on the bandwagon of the success. Or look, this girl went to our school and we taught her, and it's one of those, you just grit your teeth and sort of say, well, I know what really happened, and it's not really thanks to you, but in some ways it is thanks to them, because if they hadn't have doubted me, would I have been as resilient? Would I have been as, could I have picked myself up in the same way? I don't know that answer. So maybe they were just, treating me cruel to benefit me in the future. I don't know.
I think it's sometimes, we come across people in life, like with your physio, and, it's hard enough that we have barriers in our way, but it's a cruel world that we do live in. I've come later on in life, and I think it makes no difference whether you have it from a young age to now. But the thing, I used to have a teacher, this is when I was fully sighted, and when you mentioned that recalling of your mark, somebody actually did that to my literature paper, said that I was actually cheated, and it was my friend who got the top mark, and I had it reassessed, and that determination, or excuse my language, kind of sheer fierceness has stayed with me, because if I want to prove a point, I will prove it, because my gut tells me I'm right. And then I thought, no, and I hate it when people put us down, because being visually impaired is not easy. No. Every challenge, from getting up to stopping you, how many times have we all stopped our feet on the edge of the bed, or gone into the door and missed the wardrobe and think, oh, I didn't know you were there, but you were there all the time.
Yeah.
I do laugh about it, but sometimes think, oh, here we go again. But
no, definitely.
Thank you so much. And it's given me more determination to actually say no, and say no to the world, say no, I will do it, and I'll prove it.
It's about, in a way, it's like I say, that is one of my biggest motivations is you know, I'll prove the doubters wrong. Fortunately, I think it is becoming less and less. Like, society today is a lot more accepting of visual impairment than it was 20 years ago. I'm not saying it's perfect by any means, and I still think there's a great, you know, there is a gap, and there's a lot of improvement that can still be made. But I don't get as many patronizing comments when I'm on public transport or walking down the street on my own as I used to 20 years ago. I mean, the amount of people that used to come up to me when I was a lot young, you know, when I was sort of in my teenage years, and say, I'll pray for you. And I used to think to myself, you know, don't bother, because I'm happy. I'm happy with who I am. I've not got a problem. You're the one with the problem if you pity me. But yeah, I think you do, and there are days when you just want to hit your head against the wall and scream and say, why are you doing this to me? But I think, you know, it's those are hopefully they're fewer than the good days.
Oh, thank you.
So in the world of your tandem cycling, is there sort of a limit of an age, or can you go on as long as you feel physically able to do so?
Well, I mean, there will definitely be an age where I won't be able to compete at the same level I am now, but that doesn't mean you can't still ride a bike and enjoy riding a bike. So I mean, the amount of when I go to sort of local time trials for training races and things like that, the amount of people you see who are in their 70s, 80s, even 90s still riding a bike, and you think, you're incredible. Like, if I could do that when I'm 50, I'll be happy. so it's, you know, cycling is quite a long, you know, you do have a longer lifespan than most sports, because barring when you crash, you don't have the same impact as like running or other sort of contact sports. So you don't generally get those same repetitive injuries that sort of runners do, or footballers or rugby players or things like that. So, and also I think in disability sport, a lot of people come to it later in life. So you do have a longer span. I think sometimes when you've grown up doing it from such a young age, there's only so much your body can take before it goes, you know, I've had enough of this now. So yeah, I've sort of alluded to it. I am currently pregnant, but I am hoping to return to racing, you know, as and when I'm fit and able again, and babies, you know, so long as baby's healthy and that. And I know it's definitely not going to be easy, but I like a challenge. Life was never meant to be easy. I think if it was easy, we wouldn't appreciate it in the same way.
Definitely. And I know when I came to the event in Bury, for those that don't know, you've got a guide dog, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. She's 7 at the moment. Her name's Ty, so she's a black lab. She's my second. I got my first guide dog when I was 17, and before that I used to just use a long cane. But got my first guide dog when I was 17, and I wouldn't be without one now, because with a guide dog it gives you so much more freedom and independence, really. So no, she's my best friend.
Oh.
So just to ask, Laura, it's Richard here.
Yeah.
Do you have like, from all the countries you've like raced in, do you have like favorite countries or like races that you really were really like thrilled with as well?
So my favorite place to race has to be Italy. But then I think that's partly because the food in Italy is so amazing. Like, there's nothing more rewarding than saying, you know, if I do a good race today, I'm going to go buy myself a big bowl of gelato. to motivate you. So yeah, no, I love Italy. One of my favorite places to race, like my favorite races I've done, is probably Canada. We do a race in it's a place called Baie-Comeau, and it's genuinely the middle of nowhere. The road sign, like when you're in Baie-Comeau, the next town like on the road sign is 100 kilometers away. So you fly into Montreal, and then you have a 12-hour coach drive to get to where you race, and that also involves a boat trip across the Gulf of Lorient. My geography is terrible, so I apologize if it's not correct, but it's a big river that you have to go across on a boat in Canada. St. Lawrence River, that's it. There we go. But honestly, the community there, like they come out to support every race that I've ever done there. I've raced there 4 or 5 times now, and it creates such an incredible atmosphere. People just like, you race around a housing estate and people come and sit on the driveways, and they have barbecues, and they just make a real party of it all, and it's so fun. And you almost forget about like the nerves of racing, because you get caught up in the fun of it all and the party atmosphere. And it's I mean, I've won my first world title there in 2013. Won several World Cups there, so I've always, I think that also helps that I've always been successful there. It's a shame really the Worlds this year are back there, and we were looking forward to going, but I say we were looking forward to. I'm more than happy that I'm not going now. There's a much better reason to be not going. So yeah.
Hi Laura, it's Liam. Sorry to interrupt you. I was just wondering, do you and your husband get competitive with each other and like?
Yes, terribly so. Because we both race, we both thrive off competition, and we've learned that we do make a great team, but we don't make. We can't ever play like any games at home, so Monopoly or Scrabble or anything like that is completely off the cards.
So like, who's got the most medals and who's got the?
Well, to be fair, he's definitely got the most medals, so that's a race I can't win. But he through lockdown we trained together a lot so we use it's like an online platform. It's like a virtual cycling world, so it's computerized, so you connect your bike via like a special trainer to a computer, which monitors your power and your cadence and all the sort of details of your cycling, and you ride around a virtual world of cycling. So we used to race each other on that, and because it's mainly road stuff and endurance stuff on there, I'm a lot better than him. So I spent most of lockdown kicking his ass, climbing up hills and things like that. So but it brought us both fun, and it did us both good, because we both came out of it a lot stronger. So but yeah, we are very competitive. I think I'm probably worse than him, to be honest, and I think that comes from having 2 brothers who are both bigger and stronger and older than me, and having to sort of learn to put up with them and hold my own.
Yeah. Laura, it's Kim. Your talk was just incredible, inspirational, and powerful. Honestly, it was incredible, actually. And you know something, you were fantastic, because you're the first person who's ever clarified why I feel the way I do, of sometimes being terrified of, I mean, I'm a lot better than I was, but with your husband having RP and having some sight, and then the thought of actually losing your sight completely sounds terrifying. And then I go, oh my God, she's going to be a mum, and how is she going to look after these children? And then
I don't know the answer to that. We'll find out.
and I, you know, it's like such courage, and it's just beautiful to hear. It's
Thank
amazing.
you.
No, truly, that's incredible. And then I also want to say, you mustn't put ages on, because you said if I'm still cycling at 50, then I'll be happy. Well, I'm 57, and I wanted to ask you.
Oh, you could definitely start still. You know, you should do it. Like, as I say, cycling is a sport. It's so good for your joints.
Yes, I actually tried to cycle maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. I tried to find out how to get a tandem, and I don't know why it's in Northern Ireland, perhaps it's just not so easy, but maybe now I know somebody in disability sports, so I'm going to actually approach this chap and ask him.
And then if I hear anything, I'll let you know.
That's
I'll get in
amazing.
touch with Rachel. I'll ask around, because it's something, you know, it should be available to anyone who wants it.
Yes, I sent out loads of emails, and I was going, and eventually I just gave up. Well, that was a bit pathetic of me, I suppose.
Well, no,
there's
only so much you can. There's only so much, you know, so many knockbacks you can take before you think this probably isn't really meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. I did. So perhaps it's not for me, because it's not happening. But you know, I love riding a bicycle, and I miss it so much. So I would love to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
So thanks for that.
Definitely, and I've been to the velodrome a few times in Manchester, and I've got to say, when you're on that bike and you're up the top, that adrenaline buzz is amazing.
It is amazing. Addictive, isn't it?
Yes, very much so.
It's just, it's hard to put into words, but I think that feeling when you are like right up the top of the track, or like I say, when you've worked really hard to ride up a hill, and you finally reach the top, and then you know that you're just gonna be able to bomb it down the other side of the hill and go really fast. Just makes all the sort of sweat and pain worthwhile.
I think it's like when it's Wimbledon, then you just want to be the Wimbledon champion, and listening to you talk about all your medals, and you forget about the hard work in between. But really, what a story.
Yeah, thank you.
Have you ever done any of the sports that your brothers do, you know, the cricket and the football?
I've been roped into playing cricket many a time when they've not had enough numbers to make a team, and they go, oh, you'll do. So I've played cricket a few times, and I've played blind football a few times, and I used to play while I was at university. I played goalball for a while, but I'll be honest with you, the way I work, I'm much better at individual sports. My strength is not a team player. I know on a tandem we do have to. It is very much a team. There is two of you, but I'm far better at that sort of sport than a, you know, where you have to kind of play and interact with a lot more people.
Yeah, definitely.
And have you managed to get your brothers to have a go on the tandem, Laura?
I think they've both been on bikes at some point in their life. At one time I was determined to try and get Roy, the middle brother who plays football. I think he'd be very good at a tandem, but he's the complete opposite to me. He doesn't enjoy the solo stuff as much, or like he much more enjoys that team environment of being in a football team. So it's about what you enjoy, really. Like sport was always designed as a hobby. It was never designed to be a job like what I do. It was always, it's something that you're meant to enjoy, and you do. Sport, by definition is play. Like, it's meant to be to give your mind a break and to relax. So if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then you shouldn't do it.
Definitely. And the cooking that you do, how did you get involved with the cooking?
Yeah, I haven't really talked about the cooking, but yeah, so my mom taught me to cook. So she was kind of the perfect person really, because she can't see either. So I just learned from watching her on a day-to-day basis how she managed in the kitchen. And then while I was, as I sort of alluded to in my talk about how just before COVID hit, I was really kind of not enjoying cycling anymore. And through that, I got talking to one of the sort of support staff within British Cycling, and they said, why don't you find yourself something that's irrelevant to cycling? It doesn't matter if you win or lose, you've still got this, to do. And I was like, well, the only thing I enjoy doing other than is cooking. And so they encouraged me to start writing a blog. I was like, I can't write, I'm terrible at writing. But it's funny how you become quite good at when it's something you enjoy talking about or writing about. It makes it a lot easier. So I set up this blog, Blindingly Good Food, where I share quite a lot of like healthy recipes. Because one of the main questions people ask when they hear like you're an elite athlete sort of thing is, do you have to have a really strict diet, or do you have to avoid certain foods and things like that? So I thought, well, if I share some recipes, people kind of see what I'm eating and what I do. And then it progressed from there. Was people say, well, how do you do that when you can't see? And I thought, well, I might as well write about that as well. And then it became, I'm in quite a powerful position here. I know how to cook and I can't see. There's a lot of people who can't see who are losing their sight and don't know how to cook, and I've got an opportunity to help them. So I've started doing like demonstrations. I do them on Zoom, where people who can't see, if you've not got a lot of confidence in the kitchen, you can come along, and I'll teach you a nice, simple, healthy recipe that I try to keep when I'm cooking. I try to keep everything in one pan because it's easier. It's you're less likely to burn yourself or make any knock anything over. And I just share my experience and hopefully encourage more visually impaired people to build their confidence in the kitchen. And because there's nothing more powerful than being able to cook for someone and look after someone. Like there's a lot of time where people have to help me because I can't see, and there's no getting away from that. There are times when you do need sighted assistance, but to be able to do something for them in return is, it gives you this really real sense of achievement and empowerment. And especially like as I am starting a family and being able to provide and cook healthy meals for my children and make sure they're not fed on microwave meals. And it's one of these real bugbears of mine. I see people losing their sight, and the support workers will always say, oh, here's a talking microwave, go and buy some microwave meals, and that's what you've got to live on for the rest of your life. And that's really it's not enjoyable. Like food, you're meant to enjoy eating it, it's meant to be pleasurable. And it, that freedom of being able to do things for yourself, it's liberating.
No, it's brilliant. And do you use any certain gadgets or anything in your kitchen to help you?
The only specific things I use that are adapted for visually impaired are talking kitchen scales, and I do have a talking microwave at the moment, although I've had it I got given it the first year of university, so that's I think 15 years ago now. So I'm waiting for the day that it breaks, but it's still going, so fair play. But yeah, I try to not use specifically designed things for visually impaired, partly because they're so much more expensive. And there's a really good shop, Lakeland, is an online shop, and a lot of their stuff they sell are all very much kind of easy to use, because it's not you just because you can't see, you don't need a lot of like specially designed equipment in your kitchen. You can still use a knife, you can still use a chopping board. They don't need to be anything different to what you can buy from the shop. But I guess I've highlighted certain things on my blog that I found through experience work better. So like there's a brand called Joseph, and they do these things called chop to pot, which is a chopping board that has a handle that if you squeeze folds up the sides, so it like creates a funnel. So you can lie it flat, chop all your vegetables, create the funnel to carry it over to the pan and then direct into the pan, so that you don't end up spilling things all over the place or missing the pan. So that's something I've kind of picked up. And yeah, you just, you have to trial and error, and I'll be honest with you, sometimes I do make mistakes. Sometimes I do, cut my finger or burn my hand if I've touched a pan. But then I watch a lot of cooking programs. I watch MasterChef and Great British Menu and all that. And the amount of times the fully sighted professional chefs make mistakes and burn their hands and that, like, just because they can see doesn't mean they're exempt from accidents. Like you're gonna have them in day-to-day life, whatever you do. So if you wrap yourself up in cotton wool and be frightened of it, then you just won't live your life to the to what you're capable of.
I've got a question for you, Laura. You say you've been to all of these wonderful continents. Have you brought back any cuisines with you that you actually cook yourself now? And if so, what's your favourite, apart from gelato?
I cook quite a mix. I love to cook with spices because I love the smell when I'm cooking, that sort of sensory experience of being able to smell all the different spices. So I do love to cook curries and things like that. Yeah, I mean, quite often we're restricted when we are racing to sort of trying new cuisines because when you run into a competition, you don't want to eat anything that's not going to agree with you, so you try and keep it quite simple and straightforward. So like my ideal sort of meals in the run into a race are quite bland, really, sort of chicken, rice, veg, or bolognese, or nothing too out there. But yeah, like I do love Japanese food. Although I'll cook a stir fry, but one day I am going to attempt making a katsu curry. Yeah, and I think my favorite food to eat is probably Italian food in general. I love a good pasta, and my favorite meal to eat post race, like a treat meal, is a pizza. Like you cannot beat a good old pizza, especially when you've done a 2.5 hour road race and you just need to get the carbs back in, like shove a pizza down your face and you're good to go again.
Especially if it's a proper stone bake.
Oh yes,
Italian, like a
real thin base.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And they come out the sides of the dustbin lid as well. No idea.
Yeah.
Fortunes out there. So I'll have a small,
Just say I've done some of the cooking with Laura, and the recipes are absolutely delicious. I did a festive risotto with you in December last year, Laura, and I froze it for when Rach came to mine Christmas Eve, and I reheated it, and it was lovely.
Oh, good. And it's really, I do really enjoy, like, I get as much enjoyment from helping others and sharing my recipes because it's lovely to hear people enjoying, especially like food is meant to be enjoyable. Like and cooking's meant to be fun. It's because I love it. I want other people to appreciate it too. I want other people to share that passion that I have for it. So no, I do love to hear from people enjoy it.
And also, just one other thing, I've got a talking microwave, and it's 20 years old this August, so I don't know if they make them too brick, to be honest. So.
Oh, that's good. That's reassuring. You pay enough for them, so that's.
I personally love talking technology. I've got the talking scales, and I've actually got a talking measuring jug as well, because we've dabbled in a bit of baking here and there. Chocolate chip cookies are the best. You say about smells and tastes.
Yeah,
like that. The
smell of anything
chocolate
baking.
Yeah, we love doing that, and it's just finding, jumping online and being as creative as you can with, okay, I need this, and I need it to talk to me, or I need it to be tactile, or haptic feedback, and just Google, and you'll be very surprised of what companies are out there that do talking technology for around the kitchen, and sometimes, the price, can be, it's like, well, that's quite a lot for a measuring jug, or that's quite a lot for some talking scales, or
but it's worth it though, isn't it? If it allows you to then use it.
Yeah, if you're going to benefit from it. I know that the RNIB do a talking 2-hob plug-in electric sort of hob that just sits on it will just sit on your worktop. You plug it into the mains, and it's got 2 hobs on it, and it's all talking. It tells you how hot it's getting and everything like that. So there are talking appliances out there, and talking equipment that can help you. So, and it's when you can utilize, with cooking especially, all 4 remaining senses, and not only that, they become even more heightened. So things taste even better, things smell even better, and
there's nothing more enjoyable, like when you sizzle, when you're frying something and it properly sizzles. Like I just find that really quite satisfying. Or another really good sort of one is when you like toast or fry seeds, like especially sort of mustard seeds or anything like that, and they start to pop. And I love that. I get so much satisfaction from listening to things pop. It makes me realize how childish I am at times.
And capers as well.
Yeah.
And the smell of sesame seeds. Oh my gosh.
I love
it.
That's like what I love about like Asian cooking. If you use like sesame oil instead of olive oil to fry, and I'm talking about all this food, mate. It's really making me.
I had some really good smells coming from my Bardet-Biedl I made before coming into Rachel's.
Laura, are the blog that you mentioned about, obviously your cooking blog and any recipes, are they in kind of audible format? Is there anywhere we can?
It's not in audio, but they are on the blog on the website, which is accessible.
Cool.
So the website is blindinglygoodfood.co.uk. I must admit, I haven't updated it for a while, so I do need to get around to doing some work on it at some point. But they are, they are all still there, and they are all accessible. At some point, I would love to do a recipe book for people with a visual impairment, and either do it on audio or in Braille or something like that. And the RNIB do have some really good Braille recipe books. It's how I started out. When I first wanted to be a bit more creative in the kitchen on my own, I bought a few recipe books from the RNIB, and I just set myself the challenge each week of trying a new recipe. Some went really well, some went terrible. But it's about playing around and thinking outside the box as well, and not being afraid to, just because someone sighted does something one way, that doesn't necessarily mean you've got to do it that way too. Like, it's what you're comfortable with and what you feel happiest with. So one example from me is, I generally, a lot of recipes say heat the pan first and then add things to the pan once the pan's hot. But I feel safer adding as much to the pan as you can. Obviously, there's some things you don't want to add at the start, but like especially sort of spices or onions and things, I'll put that in the pan before it started heating, and then I'll turn it on once I've done all my prep. And it might not be the conventional way of doing it, but it works fine, and the food still tastes good. So yeah, it's just about playing around.
what we'll do is everyone that's registered today and joined us will send out a follow-up email. So any links or tips and tricks that everyone has mentioned today will go into that follow-up. So there'll be links there. So if you wanted to try any of Laura's recipes or log on, if you wanted to send us the details of the your thing on Thursday, we'll add that as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So,
Okay.
if anyone was interested in taking part in that and learning some new cookery skills.
Great. I've just got two other questions. So one is, I see that you did the did stuff with the Queen's Jubilee. How was that? And also getting your recent honours, how was that as well?
Yeah, so I got my MBE after winning gold in Rio, and then I'm very fortunate enough it's been upgraded to an OBE in the birthday honours this year, which was an incredible honour. Really, it's one of these things where, you know, throughout training the focus is on, like, we're doing this to win a gold medal. You never really sort of expect these other things to come along as a result of it, like so to be recognised by, you know, by the Queen is an incredible honour. And I'm not necessarily a royalist, but I do love the Queen. I think she's an incredible woman. Like, to be doing what she's doing at 97 is, you know, she's done a lot for our country. So to be asked to, you know, help celebrate that 70 years of service to the country, and to you know, ride my tandem down the mile as part of the pageant was just, it's one of those moments like, is this really happening to me? And it was like one of these bizarre moments where beforehand we all had to, like, because security was obviously really tight, so before, you know, we all everyone involved in the pageant had to kind of accumulate at this building where we were all so well looked after, like, and so food was provided, and we went to get lunch, and we were just sort of walking around, and there's some very big names, you know, sort of just sitting there around us. We don't belong here. I really don't belong here. But then, like, Joe Wicks, the you know, the PE guy,
Fitness guy, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So he just came up to us, like, out the blue, and was like, "Oh, you two," because I was with my husband at the time, so he could see, neither of us could see very well. And he was like, "Oh, do you need to find a seat? There's 2 seats here next to me, and my wife could come and sit next to me." And so we sat down, and then he's like introducing himself and telling us who he was, and I was like, "I know who you are." But no, it was just, like, quite bizarre. But no, it was an incredible honor. Yeah.
No, it sounds amazing. Like you say, it's one of them, I suppose, pinch yourself moments.
Yeah,
to think that
definitely.
I was there and I've done that, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I did sort of milk it on the mile when we were riding the tandem. I had both hands in the air, like, properly waving it, and then I sort of realized I should probably hold on at one point, because I am pregnant. There is another person on this bike, not just me.
I loved that festival. They were so beautiful. The whole thing was incredible, and the atmosphere, and I could see the colors of the flags. So everything was it was just, and seeing everybody, I mean, and all the Paralympians, it was amazing.
No, it was a great fun.
Was your husband there?
He was there as my guest. He didn't actually get invited, which maybe I don't really know how that happened. I was lucky than him, but no, he was the official guide dog minder for the day.
Oh, shame.
But you know, we share it. You know, we've done different things where one of us is, you know, we've been the plus one, and it's quite fun, and I feel very lucky, like, that I'm able to share a lot with him, especially, like, going to Paralympics, like in Tokyo. Obviously family and friends weren't able to travel out because of COVID restrictions, but I was quite privileged that, you know, Neil was there, and we were both there to support each other, and celebrate each other's successes on the day. And there's a brilliant photo that I know went viral of us both afterwards when we sort of hugged each other, and I think we were both crying.
So beautiful.
I think it's great as well. I know when I went to your event in Bury, the fact that the medals actually, you've got the braille on them and they've got the holes on the back, haven't they?
Yeah, they're very tactile, and they do put a lot of thought into how to make them as inclusive. And so, like the ones from Rio, when they had ball bearings in, so when you rattled them, they made different sounds depending on the color. And then the ones from Tokyo have got, like, say, there's for a gold you've got 1 hole drilled in, for silver it's 2, and for a bronze it's 3. So they are very tactile, and it's brilliant.
Oh, that's good. And when you got your OBE, was it from the Queen, or was it?
I haven't had my investiture yet, so that won't happen probably for another. It might, and I mean, it might not be till next year now. So you get listed in the honours. So when I got my MBE back in, so I was the New Year's honours for 2017, and I got awarded it in the March, or I went to receive it in the March, and I got my MBE from Prince Charles, which was incredible. But I guess we'll wait and see with the OBE. I'm hoping, because Neil also got an OBE at the same time, and he got his MBE after winning gold in London in 2012. But we both got our OBEs at the same time, which is it's really nice to be able to share that with him, and
Dynamic.
hopefully we'll both get the same, both get to go on the same day and receive them together. And if I'm honest, I'd rather it be next year now, so that I'm not pregnant, because I can't think of anything more terrifying than have to go to the palace when I'm sort of 38, 39 weeks pregnant and think, oh my God, please, waters don't break right now.
Yeah.
What a dynamic couple you are.
Yeah, but that must be so lovely, the fact that you and your husband can share it together, something that you've done together, and the achievements are massive.
Laura, will you encourage your little one to cycle as well?
I would like them to be healthy. I'd like them to do lots of, try lots of different sports. I don't want them to feel like they have to follow in our footsteps. I don't want them to sort of be a mini me. I want them to be their own person. So whether that's sport or whatever, I would just quite like them to, find what their passion is. And my job is to make sure that they experience as much as a wide variety of things as possible, so that they've got a good grounding of what it is they want to achieve or want to do. And if that's not in sport, because let's be honest, I'm very much endurance. I'm not a sprinter at all, whereas Neil's the complete opposite. So we joke that they will either have both our qualities and be this sort of amazing hybrid athlete, or they'll have neither and be atrocious. So we'll wait and see what it is.
That's amazing.
Right, so thank you ever so much. It's so inspirational, everything you've done. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to come along, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't know if has anyone got any more questions that they'd like to ask, or anything they want to share, or anything like that?
Can I ask a quick one, please? It's Chris here.
Yeah, go for it.
Just want to say, well, Laura, fantastic sporting achievements, and so yeah, well done for that. And you've got great talent, great tenacity, because you've had some setbacks on the way, especially with chains jamming and throwing you off your bike. When you said that story, and you said I sat there and cried when I finished. I would have cried as well.
I think everyone would have done.
It's more sort of technical question about, is it a pilot? It's called, isn't it?
Yes.
The person at the front. What are the limits in terms of who you can have? I mean, could you have Lizzie Diamond? Could Neil have Mark Cavendish or someone? Or
so it used to be a lot stricter in that if you'd represented your country at a certain level, you had to have at least 2 years out. They've got a lot more relaxed now. So you used to have, I mean, for a long time, Neil raced with Craig McLean, who went to the Olympics a few years before he started racing on the tandem. But it's also quite key to remember that not all the best individual cyclists will make a really good tandem pilot. It's a slightly different role you have to play. So some strengths, favour a solo bike, and some strengths favour a tandem. But what they often do now within British cycling is the way the system works with British cycling, you have what's called the academy, where they bring on junior athletes that have got a lot of potential, and not all of them will make it to the top, but so that some of them will just be at a level that's not quite good enough, but still. So at that point, when they are sort of saying, well, I don't think you're capable of making the next level, but have you ever thought about riding a tandem? So we quite often get like ex-junior athletes and things like that. So they are very much strong athletes within their own right, and they would hold their own in their own bike, in a solo bike race. But some people are more suited. Some people really like the team aspect of riding a tandem. There's two of you together, and yeah, some people just see it as an opportunity to prolong their cycling career.
Thanks, that's really cool. And so how long have you been with your current pilot? Has it been a long time?
Yeah, me and Karina are the longest serving tandem pairing. I don't know how, because there have been many times where we've not seen eye to eye, but fortunately we've worked through our differences. So we started riding together in 2013, which is 9 years ago now. And I have ridden with a couple of other girls within that time, but I always seem to end up back with Karine, and we've been incredibly successful together. So yeah.
And do you manage to get enough sort of practice time together, or do you practice apart, or how does that dynamic work?
We do some training together and some apart. We've learned that it's quite often people think you have to train all the time together, but we've learned that that's not the best for us. We actually get the best out of ourselves if we train separately and then come together and do sort of blocks on the tandem, or because we are two individuals, like we are two, so we have strengths, our strengths and weaknesses are different, so we have to train slightly differently. And I think it didn't really take us until sort of lockdown, when social isolation meant that it's impossible to socially distance on a tandem, so we couldn't train together. And we suddenly realized, well, actually, when we came back to the tandem, we were both so much better than what we were before. So we've tried to continue that pattern after COVID of training separately and then coming together when we need to.
That's good. So it keeps the relationship more healthy by the sound of things.
Definitely, yeah.
And my last question, I will shut up at some point.
It's fine.
I assume that she and Neil's pilot also, they get all that medals and everything, just not the MBEs and OBEs.
Yeah, they do. So Karina's OBE as well. She also got awarded OBE.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, they get the same recognition. They're funded in exactly the same way. So she gets exactly the same funding as me, and access to all the same. So they're treated equally, and I believe that's how it should be. There's some sports where it is slightly different, but they put in just as much effort as me, and we're a team. So both.
I agree. I think equality works both ways. I know it always seems to come sort of to our direction because of our vision impairment, but actually it should work both ways.
It should. It should just be. I mean, everyone should be the same. It doesn't matter what, but that's an idealistic approach, isn't it?
Then life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
I've got a quick question.
Go on, Marcus.
Your story was very inspirational. I used to do a bit of athletics myself in high school, like when my sight was better, like cross country and stuff. But really want to give it a go now. But do you know where there is somewhere in Manchester, did you say, to try it?
I don't know specifics, but I do know that British Blind Sport website has where you can type in where you live, and they will tell you the nearest place for that have guide runners that will, you know, people are willing to guide run for you. So I think your best approach is to go to British Blind Sports first, if it is running, and kind of look there. But definitely give it a go. Like there's you know, there are a lot of more opportunities than, and like you don't have to be amazing to start with. It's about building up your, and especially building up your confidence and things like that. But yeah, start with British Blind Sport.
Okay, yeah, because I definitely want to try the tandem now, because I used to enjoy riding as well. So
well, that's, you know, either Berry Blind Society has the tandem club.
Okay.
And also, like I say, at the moment, unfortunately, the Manchester Velodrome is closed for refurbishment, but from next year it'll be reopened again, and they do have sessions there. So yeah, give it a go. You love it. It's everyone should give it a go if they get the opportunity.
Yeah, and there is also Marcus. There is also, if you like running, we do the park run at Heaton Park, and you can actually get a sighted guide to run with you if that's something that you'd want to start in again. That's done at Heaton Park. I think it's Saturday mornings that they run it.
Is it? Okay. You can get the tram there, can't you?
Yeah, the tram goes straight there.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The blindingly good food blog looks delicious.
Oh, have you been? Thank you.
I'm very hungry.
Yeah, Kim's already there, knowing what recipes she's looking at and everything. It sounds like.
It's seriously good. I'm like salivating.
Also, just quickly to say, Laura, I don't know if you ever done, but I went to where I live in Mid Wales. I'm on the border of Shrewsbury, and they have an event called See and Hear, and I had to go on the tandem there, but it wasn't where you were behind. You were like you was like in a seat, like side by side instead of behind. Okay,
I guess that's a slightly different, like adapted bike. No, I've not ever done that. But it's amazing what, you know, bikes are out there, like different adaptive stuff now to make cycling accessible. So there's lots of options, and it's just about getting out and, you know, getting a bit of air really, and exercise, because it's so good. I think we underestimate. It's obviously good for us physically, but it's also immensely mentally beneficial.
Definitely. Sometimes it's finding the information into it, finding out what's out there, because you don't always find it out yourself. And through talks like this or other societies and stuff, there is lots out there for us visually impaired people. It's just finding out about it and then sort of moving forward for yourself, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time out your Saturday afternoon to speak so openly and inspirationally about athletics, food, your sight loss journey. It's been massively rewarding, and a tandem is something that I've really wanted to have a go at. I've done many challenges for sight loss organisations over the years, but I've never actually done anything on a bike yet. So that's just given me even more inspirational courage to have a go at doing something like that. I just need a pilot that want to travel the ridiculous length of distance that I'd love to do a cross country challenge on, but I don't know anyone that's crazy enough to take up my idea.
I'll join in with you, Mark. I'm crazy.
Crazy? Would you be up for cycling 1,500 miles?
Yeah, give it a go. I'll be fit by the end of it. Let's put it that way.
It's definitely one way to get fit.
We can sponsor how long I'm going to last.
Yeah,
I'm up for that.
I'll keep that in mind.
It's been a real pleasure speaking to you. I am going to have to shoot off now, but it has been really great to speak to you all, and hopefully we'll speak again. And please do get in touch if you've got any questions or anything. Please do get in touch, and I'm more than happy to help and support when I can.
Thank you ever so much, Laura. Thank you for coming along and talking today. It's been very inspirational. So thank you ever so much from everybody.
Before everybody departs the meeting, just a couple of reminders for upcoming events from Retina UK. If anybody's interested, we are continuing the theme with inspirational speakers at our West Midlands meeting on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. We're going to be joined by Darren Harris, professional footballer and author. And also on Thursday evening at 7 p.m, we're going to be joined by Action Challenge UK, who is going to be talking about some of the inspirational treks, both international and nationally, that they can provide. Also, events coming up in July. We have our professional conference and general conference and AGM on the 8th of July and 9th of July. Full information and details is available on our website, which we will be putting into the follow-up email that will be going out in the next couple of days, including some of the information that Laura has spoken about in today's meeting. Once again, I'd like to thank Laura for taking the time out this weekend to speak to us regarding her sight loss journey and her professional cycling career. It's very, very much appreciated. And also a massive thank you to Rachel for organising this meeting, our Manchester facilitator, and for everybody that has attended today. It's been very, very inspirational, and we would love to see you at the next meeting. Dates, times and venues, and also speaker information will be coming out in due course. So once again, from both Rachel and myself, thank you very much for everyone for attending this Saturday afternoon. We wish you all the best and enjoy the rest of your weekend. So thanks very much again, and goodbye to everybody. We hope you have enjoyed this recording. If you have any questions, queries, or wish to leave any feedback, then please leave it in the comment section below. Alternatively, you can send your inquiries to info@retinauk.org.uk. Contact us via the telephone on 01280 821 334 or call our helpline on 0300 111 4000, which is open Monday to Friday 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. If you would like to know more about our local peer groups, when your next meeting will be held, or if you wish to get involved in creating your own group, or would like to know more about our services that Retina UK provides, then please visit our information and support page on our website www.retinauk.org.uk and navigate to our local peer group page. Thanks again for listening. We hope to see you again soon. Take care and bye for now.